So here we are as at the close on Wednesday afternoon. The Dow Jones Industrial Average today closed up 64 points. I want to bring this to your attention since Friday's trading session, this one dark Morobozu candlestick, which really brought us into the week. You can see both the market trying to push below the lower levels of this individual candlestick right here, which have failed, mind you, on a high wave spinning top. And then today's candle, we tried to push above the high of the Morobozu candlestick on Friday last week. We also failed at this level. You can see this strong upper wick. It really appears as though the markets are either retesting this really advanced, this really strong fan line, this accelerating fan line from the bottom now. It appears as though we're starting to push below it. We've come back up. We're trying to retest it. And as such, selling pressure is building right around 18,100, right up to 18,190. I'm very interested and excited to see what the Dow Jones Industrial Average does, because this is a very critical level on the overall markets. Here we are. We're still right in no man's land, right between resistance and support. We're very close, I should say, back up to that resistance level. And if I change to the oscillating indicators just one more time, indicators are really suggesting at this particular moment that we are in the phase of the cycle which is going to resolve itself to the downside, at least down to 17,750. The individual candlesticks again are quite mixed. Monday and Tuesday we saw indecision. It really appeared as though the markets were trying to push higher, at least for the first half of today's trading session, but you can see the failure once again with this long upper wick. When it comes to our individual trade setups at this particular moment in time, I cannot stress the importance enough of just remaining patient and very neutral on a lot of these individual trade setups. Some stocks are still breaking down, others are showing some signs of a little bit of a push higher. They haven't confirmed, they haven't moved outside of the breakout ranges. Right now it's a time, however, just to remain neutral and just wait for the market to see a big movement. I was reading an article just this morning, or late this afternoon I should say, where the market itself hasn't experienced a 2% up day or down day since December 2014. So here we are, we're into June, we're into the 6th month of 2015, and the markets themselves haven't produced a 2% up day or down day. It is one of the longest streaks. And I do believe when we break out or break down of this level here, we are going to usher in at least a 2% move. This is built up volatility. It continues to remain suppressed. It is frustrating on a technical time frame, at least on a swing trade time frame at this particular moment in time, because we're not seeing strong conviction one direction or another on a lot of these individual trades. We do have our foot in the door in a lot of these individual trades, and right now we're just waiting, so to speak, until the market makes its definitive break. The S&P 500, once again, this is a very interesting type of candlestick. It is what we call a shooting star, but if you pay attention to the candlestick on Friday, you've got this long day Morobozu. Again, we tried to flinch below it twice. We failed, which is really reflected in this indecision. Then again today, we tried to push above the high of the Morobozu, and you can see the selling pressure once again. Today on the S&P, we ended with what we call the shooting star. This is very bearish considering the location which it is occurring with. And having said that, we haven't seen the markets flinch below this critical level around 2,097. So once again, I'm very neutral. I'm very open to see which way or which direction this market moves, but my hunch is telling me that we are going to see somewhat of a short-term resolution to the downside. It really feels as though the markets are trying to price that in at this current moment in time, at this current juncture we find ourselves trading in. A lot of news coming out of the Eurozone today with the ECB, Mario Draghi speaking, and of course the bond issues going on, a lot of volatility in the treasuries around the world. Not sure how much of an influence this is sort of impacting into the US equities. There's a lot of discussion around Greece, what they're going to do with the Friday payment, how that is going to work out. It's still unresolved as at the close on Wednesday afternoon. And I think a lot of markets at this particular moment in time are really just waiting with bated breath just to see the outcome of that discussion, to see what happens to Greece's creditors, whether or not they will be repaid this coming Friday. I do not think they will default. That is some form of a stretch at this particular moment in time, but there is a lot of volatility, at least, surrounding the discussions taking place in the Eurozone and what is going to happen with the Greece debacle at this current moment in time. That NASDAQ, again, I mean, you can see these slowdown signals. We don't have the long day Morobozu on the Friday. Instead, this week, we've referenced the hangman, then the high wave spinning top. Today, we have a doji, a perfect spinning top doji. Now, this is very neutral. Of the three markets, if you needed to make a bullish argument, just based on the price action alone, the NASDAQ would be the most bullish. The reason why is because we're still floating around that all-time high. We haven't necessarily sold off. We're starting to see the early reversal signals, but there is just no net movement. I haven't even referenced the weekly types of charts. If we have a look at the Dow Jones, the net movement for the week for the past three trading sessions has been a positive 65 points, not a big advancement or a decline whatsoever, with the S&P 500 very, very similar. It's only up 6 points for the overall week so far, 3 trading sessions into the week. And the NASDAQ, you can see that spinning top, we're up close to 30 points on the overall weekly candle at this particular moment in time. A lot of trades are still developing. Apple's a trade which hasn't moved either direction, higher or lower. We are at that critical pivot point, and I'm very excited about that trade. The same is true with Amazon. Very neutral trade, that Bollinger Band squeeze. Excited to see the breakout volatility move when that occurs. Outside of those trades, we've got the Boeing Airlines trade, which has pulled back up to our most recent entry. 143.79 was the entry. Big surge on Tuesday. You may have had your stop just below or just above the high of Monday's candle. You're probably out of this trade for a profit. I do hope if you were managing the trade correctly, your stop would have been placed above or anywhere in this location. You would have locked in a little bit of profit. It wasn't the most profitable trade, but I'm still excited for at least the retest of this resistance level and the continuation back down to about the 136.50 area. Pay attention to Boeing Airlines. I do not believe the move is over, and it really sits very nicely with the overall markets. Baidu also has had some form of a bullish day. It is coming back up to this resistance area. We spoke about this over the weekend. This is going to take some time to form, but we are going to see some form of a reversal at this area on the chart. I'm very excited for when it sets up. You can see my entry, it's still here, and we haven't been triggered into it, but soon we may, get a re-entry at higher levels. We'll just pay attention to this as the trade sets up, but you can see that we're just retesting this very critical support level, which is now acting as resistance. A big high wave spinning top during Wednesday's candlestick. We were up 52 cents, but the intraday movement on Baidu was quite erratic. I mean, you can see right here, the high of the day was 206.50 and the low was 201.06. So we've got a spread of about $5.50 intraday movement, but the overall net position at the end of the day was only up 52 cents. So it was really 1/10 or 10% of the intraday movement, which has really been factored into the close of the Baidu candle. Outside of that, Caterpillar has had a bullish pop. We were speaking about this on Monday. I wanted to make it very clear, just remain patient on this particular trade. Looking at this chart right now, you can see the declining volume coming into Caterpillar. This really looks like some form of a bear flag. We have some form of a little pop on the Tuesday, a high wave, or not a high wave, but just a spinning top candlestick on the Wednesday. Again, a lack of commitment, but we are starting to float around these very important support levels. I do believe Caterpillar is going to fail, and we are going to see a move back down to about 83 to begin, and even as low as 78.71. This is really giving us the opportunity, at least, to bring up additional entries in Caterpillar. The trade isn't there yet, but I'm excited to see how that works out. During Thursday's trading session, we may have another re-entry opportunity on Friday, but at the moment, based on volume and the actual chart pattern itself, it really looks like a nice bear flag setting up. We'll monitor this very closely, and we'll see how this trade progresses over the coming days. Outside of that, we've got the CVX trade, which has still got another shooting star candlestick, a very, very bearish type of move. A really nice entry at 104.58 and even 105.41. It's still playing out. Right now, however, it is bearish candlesticks, but because you can see this upper week, you can see that people are getting tempted into purchasing CVX, or buyers are starting to show up in this chart. If you are in this trade still, I would place my stop right above the high of today's candle and just lock in that profit, but I still think there's a very good chance that we are going to come down to 101.18. Facebook today had a nice bullish pop, didn't it? I'm not excited about this trade. I made that very, very clear and concise over the weekend. We were talking about, well, is this the retest and the breakdown, or is this going to act as some form of a longer type of flag which is going to resolve itself to the upside? A big volume surge today in Facebook, but this picture, all too lately, really gets negated very quickly. It appears in the past that we've got to these critical areas where it looks as though Facebook is going to break out and continue in the direction, but all very often you get a very dark rejection candlestick, and it changes the overall net movement very quickly, and very much, at least, it's really reversed these types of moves very quickly. So personally, I'm not taking the Facebook trade. I'm happy to sit tight and really remain neutral until these markets just give us a really clear move. We've got all of the warning signals at this location. So many things are aligning at this particular moment in time, but at the moment, we're not seeing confirmation and a commitment to the downside. I will get carried away on bullish trades, don't get me wrong, I will, but I need the markets to break above certain levels. 18,370 on the bullish side for the Dow Jones, and the S&P 500, it's not even close to breaking above 2,139. Going back to the little talk I just gave on the markets themselves, if I had to pick one of the more bullish markets of the three, it would be the NASDAQ. The reason why is because we're very close to the all-time high. We're very close to the breakout level. However, going back to Pro 3 weeks ago, we wanted to make sure that all three markets are in agreement. And if you can see, or if you can imagine, say for instance, tomorrow we get a bullish day on the NASDAQ, it's obviously not going to trickle through to the Dow Jones and the S&P on the daily either. So, I mean, you may see the NASDAQ. This is all hypothetical. If the NASDAQ tries to push higher, it's almost guaranteed that the Dow Jones isn't going to be breaking out, and also the S&P won't be breaking out either. So please sit tight on overly bullish trades at this particular moment in time until the markets are in agreement. It's very, very important, according to Dow theory, especially when you're at all-time highs and you see the market really stagnating up at these very important resistance levels across all three of the US markets. Google today, continues its sideways move. If I change to the Bollinger Band, you can see that we are getting into a suppressed state of volatility. There hasn't been a big directional move since early May, or moving into this most recent wave lower. Since then, we've just continued sideways. I've been very, very hesitant on the bullish side. I still remain that. You can see the upper wick on Tuesday, inside day doji today. Indecision, indecision, indecision. It's not a trade that you want to be, I guess, putting a large sum of capital on the line on in the chances that we push up to 570. I do believe the better trade on Google will present to us up around this level here at 570 when and if we do get there on Google. GoPro's been some form of surprise, breaking out above 55.76. Did not take the trade. Came into the week with this inside day dark day candlestick, and then you can see Monday just exploded to the upside. You got a sort of shooting star doji, gravestone doji, followed by what we call a bearish counterattack today. So, I mean, GoPro, the net movement is to the upside. It's a trade I missed out on just because the markets were not in agreement. And because of that, I'm okay. This trade or this particular stock will be rotated off the list later this week, and we will reintroduce 2 new additional stocks into the pro list this coming week. Goldman Sachs is still flirting above our 205.17 entry. It's here at 208.29. It hasn't been, a big blockbuster move to the upside, but it is a profitable trade. Another trade which personally I did not take just because the markets are not in agreement. So I'm really picking and choosing my own personal entries, my own personal preferences in this market at this particular moment in time until the markets once again give us a really clear directional movement. IBM at the moment, I mean, you can see it's really flinching around that 168.22 type of entry. I'm happy with the trade because we have seen some form of a little bullish bounce, and you can see a little bit of buying pressure just above this trigger right here. So I'm sitting tight on IBM, but I still am optimistic on an immediate trade setup. If I change the volatility bands, we are not in a full-on Bollinger Band squeeze, but you can see just by the nature and just how close these are together, there could be a volatile move just around the corner in IBM. Very neutral at this particular moment in time. Netflix right now is still sort of plateauing up here. No trade at the moment unless you're still in the long trade from 581.90. That was a really nice trade over here. If you're holding it, that's great. It's really a time right now, however, to be tightening your stop on this long trade on Netflix. You can just see how overbought it is. Have a look at the Stokes, the RSI, and the MACD. Incredibly overbought. And I was making this comparison earlier in the week to this most recent advance off the back of the bullish gap and really comparing it to this particular moment in time. It really feels as though we're stretched to the upside, and the parallels between this price action up here and the type of price action which took place during February and March, and really what ushered in some form of a correction before we got the most recent move higher, that is some form of price analysis which we are anticipating at this moment in time. However, we aren't seeing the candlesticks, or at least the price movement, really reflecting that yet. It may take some time to set up, but right now I'm very neutral on Netflix, and I do not have any open positions in this particular stock as a swing trade. Tesla's the only other trade which we've really referenced and spoken about over and over again. 243.63 was the entry. This is going back really to mid-May, right now. And here we are early June, and it's up about $5 at the moment. It wasn't, again, that explosive move, very similar to the type of move in the Goldman Sachs. And we did have a stop here at 248.76. If you did get out, congratulations. If you're still in, please place a stop because these markets are really not, once again, healthy at this particular moment in time. And just to see today's trading behavior with those long upper wicks, you can see that almost shooting star candlestick on the Dow Jones, the S&P, a textbook shooting star. But with the NASDAQ looking somewhat more bullish, at least with the overall chart pattern itself, I'm just very, very neutral, very mixed in these markets. And I'm not overplaying my hand at this particular moment in time. When the trades aren't there, just let them be. I'm not saying that there's no trades there. We do have a great selection of trades, but the markets themselves haven't really indicated clear directional movement, and they haven't for quite some time. It's really been a very slow start to 2015. We've been very range bound, very back and forth. There hasn't been true conviction or true momentum one direction or another. It's really just been a really hard quarter, as a matter of fact, of 2015, and it's going to break. And the longer we wait for it, it's unfortunate that we have to wait for it, but that's just the reality of being a trader and transacting in the marketplace, at least trading to structures and disciplines. But right now, please, please, please just be very critical of the trades which you enter into, which you're willing to put your capital on the line for. And just remember that when you do get triggered into a position, i.e. Caterpillar, for instance, at 86.36 or the continuation at 84.90, just sit tight because the trade will run its course. I've had a lot of people asking me, what do I do? Do I re-out if it bounces, or do I look to, mitigate my risk with a stop? And I'm just saying, look, just be careful, just wait, be patient, let the trade run its course. All indication at this particular moment in time is that Caterpillar, for instance, is still topping. We may push up a little bit higher, which I spoke about on Monday's market recap, but the overall movement, which the price action suggests, is that we are going to get stuck into some form of a channel consolidation. That's what's got me so excited for Caterpillar. At the moment, I'm not jumping to conclusions. I'm looking at this chart with at least optimism to re-enter into additional puts at a higher price if in fact it can sustain itself to the upside any longer. But really just looking at this picture right now, very high probability that this is going to resolve itself to the downside. I'll keep you updated as the week progresses. Outside of that, that is the Wednesday afternoon market recap. Have a great evening, traders and friends right around the world. It's a hard time right now. I mean, this is the net movement of the week. I've tried to break it down. The lower false break, the upper false break. We're just completely flat, completely neutral. We're within Friday's candle last week, and the net movement is just not there. It's really not there. 20 points average on the Dow Jones over 3 trading sessions is nothing, absolutely nothing. And I'm excited to see finally which direction this market is going to break. I mean, the longer we wait here, the more suspect I become on the market itself, and the more I question whether or not it's actually healthy, because we cannot, again, sustain these higher prices, at least short term, and that's really been the case for 2015 so far this year. So have a great evening, everyone. Don't overanalyze, don't overthink the markets at this particular moment in time. It's not worth doing so. I'll be back with you probably Thursday again tomorrow. If in fact the markets do anything miraculous, which I'm hoping they will one direction or another. If not, Thursday or Friday, I will provide you with another market recap. All the best, everyone. I'll see you then. Goodbye.